Yes, good evening. I want to start with a very important statement right about now. A constitution is as good as the people who respect and abide by it. People can only respect and abide by it if they know it. The biggest question now is whether our people, that is the Ugandans, they really know the constitution. But then it is very unfortunate when we expect some people to respect the constitution, but hence do the contrary. Good evening. Welcome to the People's Agenda Show. My name is Mordecai Muriisa Martin Jr. Every Wednesday 10 to 11 p.m. we are here to discuss issues that actually affect 77% of the Ugandans, but of course I always remind you, we do not leave out the 23% of the Ugandans. And in the studio tonight, the gentlemen that need no introduction to me and to most of you, but of course it is always a pleasure to have them and of course letting them introduce themselves. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening to you all, our viewers. Thank you very much for being very attentive and also sparing your precious time to listen to what is going on or to watch this very important program. Latif Ssebaggala Sengendo, Member of Parliament for Kawempe North Constituency.
Would you allow me to say Lord Mayor to be?
It's a pleasure, Lord Mayor 2021. Yes.
Okay, then
thank you very much. Good evening, viewers. It's a great pleasure for me to be here tonight to share with you fellow Ugandans my views on the topic of discussion and my appreciation to the management of Record TV for extending the invitation.
Awesome. Then now you can really tell that we have two important gentlemen in the studio, and that is Katana, Benjamin Katana, who happens to be a lawyer, and of course a member of parliament for Kawempe North, Latif Ssebaggala Sengendo. And the topic today is going to be, of course, wide, but we are going to put our focus on the corruption in the judiciary, our judicial system. And away from that, we are going to be tackling other important issues. Of course, we cannot leave the show without putting an eye on the security of our nation. Now the gun has become a gun, has become a talk of the nation. Every now and then, you at least hear someone that has been shot dead. Very unfortunate. And that's why we're going to put our focus. If I may start with you, Mr. Latif. According to what you read, of recent, it is said that the Chief Justice, Bat Magunda Katurebe, is involved in a corruption scandal. Isn't that a threat to a democracy like this one?
It's really very, very unfortunate. What is coming out in the judiciary leaves a lot to be desired. Because when we talk about judiciary, we are looking at the heart of all institutions. Because if we have corruption scandals in the judiciary, where we have even the anti-corruption court under judiciary, you really wonder. Because when you look at the Auditor General's report and what our committee is really investigating, these are allegations that after investigations, the truth will come out. But what has been really, what has been revealed out of so far the investigations that have been carried out, it's really alarming. And when we talk about Chief Justice, the custodian of justice in Uganda, if he's also involved in these scandals, then what message is really sent to others who are below him? And I want to really to bring it out that if these allegations really come out to be true, justice will demand the resignation of Chief Justice.
But does it happen? Do you see this coming in Uganda?
Of course, in civilized society, this happens. Because the mere fact that your name has been mentioned and you have such a big title, civility demands that you really move away, you really step aside, and then they carry out the investigations. And if your name has been cleared, then you come back when your head is high. But right now, I'm looking at a situation where the chief judicial officer is under limelight in corruption scandals. There is no way how you can really dispense justice when you are still in the office. Actually, if I was Bart Katurevi, I would have said, if there is any allegation, if there is any suspicion that I involved myself in ABCD, please, to keep my record clean, I'm stepping aside until investigations have completed.
All right, that would be very nice. But then I want to bring you to what this information is actually all about, or allegations. I'll read to you a line. Uganda judiciary, the third arm of government, under the doctrine of separation of powers, is embroiled in 34 billion shillings, a scandal involving money that was illegally spent. Judicial officials whose mission is to be independent, of course, and competent, trusted and accountable, appeared before Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, chaired by Budadi, Member of Parliament, Nathan Ndalama-Fabi, this week, actually early this week, to explain about this. And PAC is investigating over 450 million shillings. It is said that 30 millions were used to actually construct a toilet, 2 flush toilets, at his home. That is at the home of Chief Justice Magunda Katurebe. And then the other money, the rest of 436 billions, were used to actually construct a toilet at Entebbe Chief Magistrates Court by Platinum Engineering Company or Limited at a cost of 436. What does this portray on your perspective?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I needed to indicate that judicial as an institution has had difficulties in making accountability. That is what is emerging from the report that you're reading from. And for me, it points to a bigger problem that is not restricted to judiciary as an institution, but it points to the general erosion of the spirit of public service, where the people that are entrusted with the responsibility of managing state resources for the benefit of the population are concentrating on self-enrichment and aggrandizement as opposed to serving the public. Such accountability issues, of course, are born out of people using the money for wrong reasons. So they must come up with certain figures to show where money has gone, but when in actual sense, money has gone to individuals accounts, and businesses. And of course, it also points to a bigger problem of failure of leadership. Failure of leadership in a sense that this kind of impunity that I have pointed out that is not restricted to the judiciary has been witnessed in almost every government agency or state institution. A few months ago, the nation was shocked to learn about the challenges that the central bank had about accountability, about abuse of authority, about money gone to places where it should not have gone. Just a few weeks ago, and I think up to now, there's also debate relating to impropriety, but also related to the central bank. And this has been happening in OPM, resettlement schemes. It has been happening in almost every state agency. So it points to a big crisis of failure of leadership of the day, I mean the political leadership, to address the evil of corruption and abuse of authority appropriately. So that has given birth to impunity, because people know that they will do that and get away with it. The nation will discuss it for a month, 2 months, and something else will come up, and that will be forgotten. Auditor General will write reports, Parliament will discuss them, reports will be generated, and nothing will come out of that. And this has been happening. So the judiciary, yes, has challenges, as reflected in the report from which you're reading, but these problems, we need to emphasize that they are not restricted to the judiciary as an institution, but it is spread over to all state agencies. And I think that is a very big challenge that we need to face with honesty and courage as a nation.
And now you will now take me to actually look at all the agencies of government. When we talk about the judiciary, the third arm of government, and seeing these kind of scandals, and you call it a total failure of the political leadership, doesn't this actually has to say about where we are heading? At one time I had a conversation with one politician who said that Uganda is actually a failed state. I told him that was a strong statement to use.
I would agree with you that it is a strong statement, because determination of a failed state, there are parameters, total breakdown of rule of law, and all that kind of thing. But all I can say is that the situation is not, we may not yet be there, but the situation is not encouraging, and it is deteriorating. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, according to Council Katana, it says that this a bigger problem that actually shows us the general erosion of the public service. The more time we actually have this, because it talks about the scandals that we hear of recent. We had the 90 billion scandal, and the other time we had the Kosase dominated the mainstream media, and now we have this, and tomorrow we shall have a lot of actually scandals that dominate, and they leave the image of Uganda astray and of course worrying. Doesn't this scare the future of this nation?
Of course, what Ugandan must know, that we are like, we are as if like in a movie, that every other time we get reports indicating corruption scandals. And of course, in Parliament, reports are generated, as Council Katana has said, and many Ugandans are shocked.
And by the way, I'm sorry to cut you short, but I want to let these Ugandans know, when these reports are generated by you members of Parliament, what happens next?
Of course, if I can remind you, you remember the handshake.
Oh yeah.
And the recommendation that were made. Up to now, nothing has been implemented. So we are very good at really bringing out, because I think what Ugandans have achieved in this Parliament is to bring out all these corruption scandals to the limelight. And then Ugandans are informed that this happened. And these are the people who were responsible. And then we stop there.
And they know who is failing them.
And they know, yes, of course, Ugandans know that, of course, there are so many recommendations that have been made. But up to now, nothing has really ever been implemented. Because every other time, now Kosase is coming out with scandals in the departed custodian board. It's coming out with scandals of Bank of Uganda, scandals of ABCD, and now Public Accounts Committee is also coming out with many scandals. We have reports of the 7th Parliament, of the 8th Parliament, of the 9th Parliament, and now the 10th Parliament. We have never seen any committee report being handled to the to logical conclusion, being handled in the best way that Ugandans are really expect, really value for money. And every other time, reports are going to come out. Like now we are seeing the judiciary, and we are getting disturbing reports and information. By the end of the day, what will be the repercussions? What will be the consequences? What will Ugandans really get out of all these reports? And that's why we always say that when we are fighting corruption, corruption cannot be, because it is a holistic approach, that however much the IGG, however much the Auditor General, however much the committees of parliament will really come out, however much we have the anti-corruption court, however much Nakalema, what is he doing? What is her title? However much will come out, like it was for this Bank of Uganda, the recent saga. Now, who knows where that saga ended? And it is really in billions. So I think the political will to fight corruption in this country is lacking. Because there is no way how we can fight corruption without having the political will. The political will should really play a center stage. And also ensuring that, because actions speak louder than words. I want His Excellency the President, that if there is anybody who has been involved in any corruption scandal, I want to see the President acting. I want to see the President coming out that no, you are minister, you are PS, you are ABCD, step aside. That one, I really don't see it anywhere in this government. And we will continue lamenting. We will continue, because this is just a drop in the iceberg. This is just a drop in the sea. Because every institution, go to the education, go to Ministry of Agriculture. Because now we are just looking at the backlog. We are looking at reports of 5 years ago, 3, 4, 6 years ago. But in all institutions, there are corruption scandals, there are cases of embezzlement, there are cases of really diversion of funds. So I don't know where to begin from. But I think, let us agree that our current government has no capacity at all to fight corruption.
That's a strong statement.
Yes, it has no capacity at all to fight corruption. Yes, to fight corruption. And I'm convinced that corruption is going to be fought by the next government.
Council Katana,
that is what I believe.
Do you concur the current regime has no capacity whatsoever to fight corruption?
I agree, and it's attributable to about 1 or 2 factors. One is that the current government largely depends on patronage. And the people that are patronized by the regime are the people that are engaged in impropriety. But because the regime depends on them for political survival, it cannot act upon them. And they are aware of this. So there is an interdependent relationship between the people that are engaged in impropriety and the political leaders that are in charge of the affairs of our country, particularly the president, because he is the appointing and disappointing authority. So, and the people that are engaged in impropriety are aware of this. They know. The man also depends on them. They are the ones that bribe voters in the villages. Where does that money come from? It is money that we are talking about that is being used to construct toilets at billions of shillings. So, and two is basically the culture of impunity. They know that others have gone away with it, they will go away with it. And fatigue, regime fatigue, that this government has been in power for 34 years now. What it did not do in 10 years, it cannot do in 30 years. Because you see now, the people that are in those key positions have played a role in retaining this regime in power. And their payment is impunity to do what they want.
You're kidding me. Oh, well, maybe we may need someone to come and intervene in as far as hopping is concerned. At one time, that is last year, in February of 2018, on 26th, the judiciary signed a memorandum of understanding with the United Kingdom government to design and pilot of 18 months automation project aimed at consolidating Uganda's efforts in fighting corruption. The British government Department of International Development, through strengthening Uganda anti-corruption response, commonly known as SUGAR, project will provide, or actually provided, $290,000 US dollars to automate the anti-corruption division of the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court.
You see, the automation is very key. But this automation, the equipment, will not make decisions. And corruption is largely manifested at a level of decision making. When you are talking about court processes, it is largely at a point of decision making. And it will still be individuals that are making these decisions. So automation is good. It improves access to justice. When you are looking for something, it is also very fast. But you see, even when people are going to check for it on the computer, if they want to extort, it will not stop them from extorting. So what we need to address, automation is important. Digital migration is important. But without addressing the professional inadequacies, the ethical inadequacies, the socio-economic factors, that automation alone will not be the magic bullet that will stop corruption and its attendant challenges in the administration of justice.
Minus regime change, what can we do to change this?
Of course, if the political leaders of this nation, as we are talking now, if they can really go back to the drawing board. Because when you talk about corruption...
Actually, it was one of the 10 points program, zero tolerance for corruption.
Yes, it is zero tolerance for corruption. But as I told you, that actions speak louder than words. Now, having said that, if we look at the political leadership of this country and those who are surrounding the head of state, those who are using State House as a clearing house in as far as corruption is concerned, cases whereby people have godfathers that are, even if you say that according to our investigations, we are at loss as Ugandans in as far as UTL is concerned. Can we have an investigation, ABCD, and say, no, the president comes out, that's a no-go area.
The untouchables.
Altogether. So if we are having the head of state coming in to really cover up and also make some kind of protection to those who have been pinpointed that we are suspecting that is ABCD, and the president comes out to defend, then that is a clear signal that lack of political will to fight corruption in our institutions, we cannot move any step. Because we would have said, as members in the opposition, that please, let us do the needful and fight corruption. But definitely, our hands are tied. For us, what we do is to expose. And not only members from the opposition, but even members from the NRM come out and expose that, please, there is ABCD. But if the executive cannot come out to implement and make corruption and ensure that anyone who risks to go into that area, anyone who risks to really involve himself in any corruption-related scandal, you are risking a lot. Why is it that in our neighboring country, Rwanda, even someone mentioning about a bribe, it's like you are developing some, it's a no-go area.
Treason.
That if you talk about it, even if you talk about it secretly, definitely you feel like this, or everybody is listening to you. So, but here in Uganda, people embezzle and involve themselves in many corruption scandals, knowing that no, even if I'm taken to anti-corruption court, I'll come out. Even if I'm reported to the president will give me some shield, some protection. And then it's like, no. And that's why someone was really sarcastically saying that, why shouldn't we legalize corruption so that we get taxes out of...
All right, there we are taking a short commercial break. How can we legalize corruption? We are taking a short commercial break. When we return, we are going to take a look at the leadership or the environment where someone who is on a very high-ranking position in parliament or in government says, go report to PAP. If you cannot report to PAP, then you'll go to God. And this was after being called by the Land Commission headed by one Catherine Bamgemelere. But away from that, we are going to look at the security of our country. And from there, we shall let you know about everything that we shall have to be discussing in the show. Keep your eyes on Record TV.
Wagwamu essuubi oba omenyeka omutima, ebisolo byo byafa oba ebimera byo byakala, ekigwa ekimu. Weewaawo nno Record TV ng'eyita mu program Omulimi n'Omulunzi ekuleetedde emisomo mw'onooyita ofuuke binojjo, weewonya abafere n'abacukuzi b'eddagala erikozesebwa mu kulima n'okulunda. Kati gwe ayagala okutandika okulima n'okulunda, obadde okimanyi nti envunyu, emmese n'amakovu byatunzi nnyo eri eggwanga, n'omuli ebirime nga beetroot oba ng'obiridde mu mubiri birina omugaso gw'amaanyi. Kale nno wano ku Record TV ebaleetedde program Omulimi n'Omulunzi okuva ku ssaawa 12 paka ssaawa 1 ey'akawungeezi.
It is still the People's Agenda Show. I want to remind you we are streaming live on Facebook. You can follow us, and I can see some people actually commenting on this one. Kayondo Oscar says, I will vote for Ssebaggala Sengendo. And then Becky Keko says, that's my mayor. Once this message trickles down to community level, the ruling party will have to deploy heavily, even at local council one elections in future. That is Christus, then Ruwama, David, Abubeka Musazi appreciates Council Katana, then Siraji Jeje, Kaliwa Rashid, Aisha Ntanga, to mention but a few, are actually following us. We are streaming live on Facebook. Please like and follow us, and of course on Twitter, and of course subscribe to the YouTube channel, Record TV Uganda. We're still discussing a number of issues that are actually affecting Ugandans, and this is about corruption and of course security. In the studio tonight, I want to again remind you, have two gentlemen. That is the Kawempe North Member of Parliament, Latif Ssebaggala Sengendo, alongside Council, a distinguished lawyer, that is Benjamin Katana. And the discussion was still on as we were discussing. Before we took a short commercial break before we get to security. I told you about how a certain gentleman was able to say to Catherine Bamgemerere that, please, can you go to the Pope? Actually, first go to Pope. If you are not well satisfied, you'll go to the God for the issue. So when you talk about the political will, it actually tells us about how this gentleman is not concerned about nothing.
Yeah. Well, there are two things I see in that. One is the culture that we have developed of putting individuals above institutions. And individuals feel they are not accountable to anybody except the appointing authority. Individuals that believe they should not respect anybody because they have the blessings of the appointing authority. So what happened in that situation that you have really picked out is that I think it was a clash of these two entitled individuals whose relationship with the appointing authority has placed them above institutions. Without pointing fingers on one side or the other, but if I'm not satisfied with the manner in which the arbiter is handling a matter, whether I'm a government lawyer or a private lawyer, the appropriate avenues for addressing that without addressing each other in public when you are both servants of the government, servants of the people. So the impunity, impunity is very dangerous in the sense that people believe that they can get away with anything because they have got away with so many things. So we need to strengthen institutions. And the president needs to invest much in consolidating institutions than exalting individuals. Because individuals, tomorrow an individual may be sick, may die, but also once individuals are vested with a lot of power, they seem to lose direction. They seem to, once there's no accountability and the person thinks he's accountable to only one individual, then there's the individual begins to lose direction. They say that power corrupts, but absolute power
corrupts absolutely.
Corrupts absolutely. So what you saw and you are talking about between the learned justice and the learned deputy attorney general is basically a symptom of a big problem. A big problem being that we have a situation where individuals are bigger than institutions. So when the egos meet, there is a party like you saw.
Of course, and you know what they always say, when two elephants fight, it is the grass that really suffers.
Yeah, of course, I agree with what Council Katana has said, that we have really done a very great disservice to our nation by killing our institutions. Institutions have been replaced by presidentialism. Instead of having institutions, now we have the presidency as an institution. And that presidency is really combining all other institutions together. That anything that would have been done through clear channels in that particular institution is being referred to the president. So that so what we are seeing right now is presidentialism, not the issue of strengthening our institutions. That's why someone can come out and say, go and report, because he knows that he has the political patronage. He knows that even if you go and report, me, I'm covered altogether. Therefore, if we are looking at such scenarios where people do whatever they want to do with a lot of impunity, knowing that even if you report, what will happen? We have seen scenarios where someone has been caught red-handed. All evidence has come out that yes, he embezzled ABCD, but he's transferred from this ministry and is appointed someone else, is appointed to another position. So there is no way, because we are just recycling the same people who are being really pinpointed that you have embezzled ABCD, and now they remove you from this ministry A, they take you to ministry B, but someone who is the appointing authority is really very scared to disappoint these corrupt officials. And every other time, he's just rotating them. And how can we really end corruption in that kind of arrangement?
Well, we seem to be hitting a dead end. Allow me to shift now to the to the security issue in the country. Every now and then we are receiving sad news of recent. Let me start with what happened. The other time we had some thugs that actually attacked and killed people within Nansana, cheap general hardware. Away from that, we had of recent, there was a very disturbing video that was actually trending on social media, more especially WhatsApp and Facebook, when two gentlemen strangled and ended up beating up a border guy, actually with an intention of stealing a border and probably with some money. But of recent now we have someone that was that has been killed in seemingly slight reasons, and these will go at times unnoticed. Doesn't this actually tells us about more? Because we've had this for a number of times that, you know, when it comes to security, at least we can protect Uganda. But now the reports every now and then are extremely scary. What will be your take, Council Katana?
Well, thank you very much. Indeed, it's very saddening that we are losing so many people to the now growing insecurity. And from the many people that I speak to, including myself and probably you two gentlemen and the people that are watching, I don't think there's anybody who leaves town or wherever they are and goes home and is feeling secure. And for me, security is largely about that. But without going into a lot of arguments, my take is that there has been inadequate intelligence work. Failure of intelligence, because you see, security agencies ordinarily, and I believe that is the approach, much as I'm not privy, rely largely on intelligence to make sure that they preempt, they prevent, rather than doing post-mortem of going to visit. So there's growing insecurity, especially in the outskirts of the city. Homes are being broken into. We have had so many cases of mobile money people being shot. But what is most worrying is that some of these people that are involved have a background in national security agencies. The hardware in Nansana, the failed robbery at, is it Fang Fang? One of these hotels in Nakasero. And most of these other robberies, associated armed robberies.
Of recent, we had one in Entebbe.
Yes. There has been involvement of one or two members of the armed forces or deserters. That's how it has been. You remember even the bullion van robbery around Chambogo. So it also points to a very big gap in our security. I talked about intelligence failure, but also the absence of the state where it is needed. And this is largely born out of the priorities of the state or the government, because the government in power controls largely, in a country like ours, controls the state agencies, especially the security agencies. You will realize that when there is need to stop Latif's rally, the state will come out with its full might and make sure that this rally does not take place. In fact, they even get prior information that is going to hold a rally in Kawempe North and they stop it. If they could focus these energies of all their security agencies from political policing, fighting crime and securing lives of Ugandans and their property, our security would improve tremendously. But what we are witnessing now is that all the intelligence service, security forces, police and the army, and now the newly recruited LDUs, their major preoccupation is to stop political dissent. Yet, ordinarily, these are expected to be neutral in times of political contestation. But they have taken sides and they are concentrating on ensuring that the regime in power retains power rather than securing the lives of Ugandans and their properties. And that again talks to the destruction of state institutions to serve the political interests of the ruling group.
I will come to you, Honorable.
Of course, I think in the past, we used to say that maybe NRM has failed in many fields.
But in security?
But when it comes to security, at least it had some percentage. We used to say that some few years ago. But right now, when you talk about security, because we are not talking about security for those in power, but we are talking about security to all Ugandans. Because the cardinal objective of any government is to first and foremost provide security to the people and also their property. But now, what is going on in the entire country? On yesterday, 2 days ago, I think it was Tuesday, we have what we call matters of national importance before Parliament begins. Each member is given some time to raise issues that are in her or his constituency. But around 80 members, one by one, talking about murders, shootings. So, at the end of the day, all Ugandans are not safe. And this is basically, we have killings that are carried out by security operatives, by security organs. That a police officer killing innocent Ugandans, we have scenarios of army killing innocent Ugandans, and then private security firms. I'm not talking about those who have guns illegally, but I'm talking about killings that are carried out by legal state organs, security organs, altogether. Now, when we talk about the borders who were strangled every other day, when we talk about those who are being killed by using pangas, using any sort, those are many. And those ones that are reported are very few. The ones that come out are those ones that may be the big
done before the camera,
altogether.
of course.
So now we are really, because I told someone that the moment you happen to go to any country and you are being welcomed by security operatives, by security people in uniforms, soldiers, police, just get to know that there is no security. We have seen countries where you go to and you hardly find anyone moving with a gun. But here in Uganda, you see people moving with guns anyhowly. Look at this incident that happened yesterday. Arnold Mugisha, an innocent, really man who was brutally killed. How are we really training these private security operatives? We don't have a legal framework for private security firms. We don't have that. And when you look at those who are supposed to really to train, you find so many security firms and their training cannot be traced. We usually hear that on such and such a date, we are going to pass out police officers at Kabamba, army officers, they're going to be passed out. Where do we pass out these private security firms, private security personnel? That there is a special training where these people go and then they are trained. Who owns them? Altogether.
That is a big debate.
Therefore, it is $1 million question that who is owning all these security private firms? Because I lost count. There are so many, and some of these private security firms are really inadequate in as far as training is concerned. So we have a very big problem that guns are everywhere. Because you remember, they said, we are going to secure to put in place security cameras. And now, so far they have installed around 3,000 in Kampala metropolitan. But out of the 3,000, how many are working? But even then, we haven't, even the other one, the border you have said, who was being strangled, it was just from a primary school. The camera was not for the state.
Yeah.
But the only thing that the cameras have shown us, there was an accident around, I think it's Chiraron. There was an accident, yes, and then there was a petty, someone who was trying to steal someone's phone. But we have not seen any that, yes, mobile people money have been killed. These are the people we have really, we have netted using our security cameras.
The biggest question probably
we haven't seen any big scenario.
Were these cameras placed in the right places?
Well, that is a technical question that I think police can answer. But you see, before these cameras were introduced, the president pitched it as a magic bullet that would solve our security concerns. Now, the jury is out there if these cameras have significantly contributed to reduction of crime. Like he has pointed out, these murders that have taken place, the cameras have not helped in identification. And
in all these situations, they give excuse. Nasana, there was a vehicle, what a big tree which blocked the cameras. Yes. They went came, so they all give excuses.
But still, the excuse can be possible, I think.
And at what cost did we procure these cameras? We agree that the cameras are important, but the leadership of the country needs to realize that to address these security concerns, it goes beyond technology. It goes to how people are recruited into security services. It goes into how the level of discipline. The other day, a senior police officer was arrested for participating in a robbery. So if you have such incidents, even if you have 1,000 cameras, thousands of cameras, they would not help. There are incidents, and this you are a journalist, you can go and investigate, and even the security people who are watching can go and investigate, where the OC stations hire out policemen who are supposed to patrol the communities to go and guard homesteads of those who are able to pay money.
Oh no.
You can go and investigate.
It's true.
You can go and investigate. So when you have such cases taking place, even if you bring cameras, even if you bring whatever form of technology, we'll still have challenges. So we need to accept, first of all, that there's a problem with management of these institutions. And management issues need to be addressed with honesty and need to be addressed with courage, because you see, how are people, what motivates promotions? What is the role of discipline in such an institution? And what do these people that are recruited consider to be cardinal? Is it protection of the citizens and service to the country, or regime enforcement?
Council, I will give you just a few minutes. We are getting to the conclusion, but then could you give a credit to the NRM government in as far as security is concerned? Because someone who is watching is...
Well, there has been the NRM government, NRA, then NRM government, in terms of securing our borders. Great job they have done. In terms of, you see, when you can talk about improvement in terms of securing people's lives and their property, there has been improvement. But as citizens, our duty and responsibility is not to settle for less. Our duty and responsibility is to hold the government accountable in execution of their duties. And securing the lives of Ugandans is a constitutional duty placed on the leadership of the country, placed on the security forces in the country. And our job as Ugandans is to make sure that what we are supposed to do, we do, but also hold them accountable. Yes, there has been improvement, but a lot has to be done. And now we are witnessing deterioration. And this has been happening for the last about 5 years. There has been deterioration, especially in terms of urban crime. Or maybe because that's what is reported. In the rural areas, there could be more cases of insecurity. But there is a deterioration, and this needs to be faced with honesty. Because most times people want to give political explanations because they want to retain the confidence of the population.
Honorable, don't you think there are many unauthorized people with guns?
Of course, there are so many guns that are not really legally being given out. And here in Uganda, we have seen many people acquiring guns. How do they acquire them? What is the process? That one is for another day. You remember how Akena was killed just around Lugoko. Just people use guns as they're using sticks altogether. So I think in as much as we really put it to government that it is your responsibility to ensure that there is a legal framework for how these guns can be used by private security firms and also by private individuals. But we cannot afford the luxury of losing innocent Ugandans anyhow at the hands of people who are supposed to protect them and to keep their lives.
All right.
Therefore, I will request that as we try, because now look at the LDUs. Moving with guns in 20s, in 30s, for God's sake, why do you give out 40 guns to 40 soldiers whom you have just trained to move around in the village?
They're also just now extorting money from youth they are
yes.
in the evening.
So they're also creating insecurity. And secondly, you remember we had some miscoordination within the security operatives, pinpointing to each other. You remember the Kawesa case, you remember the case in Lankulabi, the other side. You remember some infightings within the security operatives. This one is blaming so, this one is blaming ABCD, and I believe that if we have those in-house quarrels within our security system, definitely we cannot expect much from our security operatives.
All right, I'll give you 1 minute to give your conclusive remark.
Yeah, he talked about arms, unlawful arms in hands of people that have acquired them through unlawful means. But even the licensed arms, the question we need to ask is the transparency in the process of issuing out these arms. During the trial of Chitata, a senior police officer testified that he gave him a gun on the instructions of the IGP. But under the law, the IGP does not have authority to issue out guns. The guns are issued under license by the Minister of Internal Affairs.
All right.
So you can see that even the state actors have been accomplices in issuance of illegal guns to private citizens.
Let me come to you, sir.
My deepest condolences to the family of Mugisha Arnold, who was killed in such a way which is really very disturbing. And I wish that we come out and act. When Akena was killed, we didn't come out strongly. And maybe someone thought, maybe there was ABCD, but now it has come to Mugisha Arnold. The other time to be on me or to Council Katana or to you. So the earlier we come out and ensure that there's security for everybody, not coming out to disrupt peaceful rallies, not come out to block politicians. Let us divert all our energies in as far as keeping the lives of our Ugandans is concerned. Otherwise, we may lose the entire nation.
Honorable Council, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Pleasure is all ours.
Yes, we just cannot go beyond this. I truly appreciate you so much for following up. I can see Alex, Stephen Bwire, MD Damulida, Donax Pavin, Jero Sozi, Nakapugo, to mention but a few, Kayondo Oscar, Sky Angel, and many of you guys that are watching online. Thank you so much. And the rest of you guys who are watching us from wherever you are, we truly appreciate you so much. Now, I'll leave you. We have another show that is coming on. But remind you, please keep your eyes on Record TV. Last week, we actually had a very awesome introduction of Moses and the 10 Commandments. You just can't afford to miss to watch on this one every 9 o'clock in the evening. My name is Mordecai, Muriisa Martin Jr. I wish you a blessed night. Goodbye.
Thank you.